Welcome to the Fitchburg Municipal Airport Commission meeting, June 23rd, 2021, at the new administration building here at the on Main Street in Fitchburg. We're going to start off with previous month's minutes, including special meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review?
Yes, we have. I make a motion that we accept the minutes and the special meeting minutes of the month of May.
Second.
I have one issue. The approvals were supposed to be year, month, in sequence, and they were the day of the month instead of the year. So we'll have to get that fixed.
Okay.
Okay, approve, vote, yes?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Action items, number 2 for previous minutes. Give me a half a minute.
Mr. Chair, whilst you're looking, I'd just like to make a mention that Mayor Di Natale offered his apologies for not being here this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, action items from last month's meeting. Hangar doors, RFP. Peter Kettle is going to follow up with Mary, or Mary is going to propose an RFP. Has that been done? Do we know?
No, the situation is that they're waiting for the commission assessment criteria. And once that's done, then she can issue the RFP.
Okay. Action, Chair Raymond. Backup generator, ASMP project. Nick Ippolito is going to look into that possibility with Gale Associates.
Yes, I did look into that, and Mass DOT would entertain an application to fund that at an 80-20 split, provided that the application is in the next fiscal year, so after this month.
Next year, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you have any idea of the dollar amount at this time?
I would guess somewhere around the $60,000 to $75,000 range to get something that's large enough to accommodate both the nav aids and the admin building.
Installed?
I believe so.
Okay,
And that's just a ballpark.
yeah. Just so we can go to City Hall with something. Peter Kettle, drone presentation, was going to meet with Lunenburg, Leominster, Fitchburg Police Departments, and Peter?
Yes, may I cover this in the next session as we move through the agenda?
Yeah.
But what I'd like to say is that I did meet with Chief Martineau, and he came up with the idea that we need to raise a petition against the city, to get some form of document that the police can use against people that are wrongly using their drones. And I'm waiting now for Attorney Pusateri to actually give me that document. So that's on one of the items for Attorney Pusateri, and I've got 4 items waiting with Attorney Pusateri.
So do we have to go through that same procedure in Leominster in the same.
Can I bring that up when we get
Oh,
into
yes.
that area on the
Yeah,
roads?
'cause
Thank you.
Lunenburg is
Right.
also different.
Right.
Okay. Bruce Higgins of, I thought it was San Diego, was looking for some space at the airport, but we really didn't have that kind of space available, and we were going to advise Bruce that there was possibility of some land across the street. However, it's not directly across the street.
Right. May I just go to the next item down after the drone one? The land access. Attorney Pusateri is looking at providing an easement for that land, and then we will present it to the Leominster DPW, and they will pay us the $8,600 for the easement on that property. That's the last one on the sheet.
That was an action item from last month?
It wasn't, but it should have been.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
And we're awaiting Attorney Pusateri to give us that document, the easement document.
Okay.
All right? And, sorry, the next question was, the
Gentleman
the
from
letter
San
to-
Diego was looking for
Yes.
some space.
Just bear with me 1 second. That was Mr. Higgins, right? I sent a letter to him. I've had no response. Would you like to hear the letter that I sent?
Sure.
I said, good morning, Bruce. Further to your email of the 18th of May 2021, as indicated, we presented your letter to the Fitchburg Municipal Airport Commission at the meeting on the 26th of May. Unfortunately, we do not have that area of land available at the airport for development for non-aeronautical use. The best we can offer is approximately 35 acres of undeveloped land circa 2/3 of a mile from the airport on the airport road. If this can be of consideration to you and your company, please do not hesitate to contact us on the phone number, as we would love to work together with you on a project like this and to direct you to the appropriate person in the city responsible for the Department of Community Development and Planning. My best regards, Peter. I didn't get any answer.
That's okay. That's the best we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not ignoring him. We're
Right.
telling him what we have and what we don't have.
Right.
I think that's wise. All right. Next item was possibility of tie-down, reduced fee for tie-downs, but Solicitor Pusateri had reservations about some of the rents at the airport being tied to the tie-down fees, and he was hesitant to just say, let's do it.
Correct.
Action, Peter.
Yeah, following that, what I did, I sent an email out to everybody on the airport. And may I read that letter?
Yep.
I said, good afternoon all. In order to attract more airplanes and increase our customer base at the Fitchburg Municipal Airport, we will be leasing tie-downs from the 1st of July 2021 at $50 a month instead of $88 a month. Current tie-downs being used will continue to pay the $88 a month until such time as a break-even point is reached, i.e., currently 8 tie-downs at $88, which equals $704. 704 divided by 50 equals 14, so we need 14 people to pay that $50 to make up for the 8 that are paying 88. This is an interim opportunity to increase sales of fuel at the airport, so your understanding and agreement of this principle is appreciated. Please note this does not affect any other agreements that are currently in place at the Fitchburg Municipal Airport. Have a great weekend to all. Best, Peter. I got a response from one person who says that if you do that, I want to pay less for my hangar. And that is the 3 hangars that are right at the back of the airport. However, we investigated that, and basically we've got to renegotiate the hangar lease that they have, because the FAA stipulated that there can be no tie-downs associated with hangar rental leases of land. So now I'm just asking Attorney Pusateri, I've got the letter, I just want him to confirm that I can go back to these people and renegotiate a new price. So their value is going to go up in line with everything else, and it's not going to be associated with a tie-down. And that's from the FAA.
Well, we do have a knack for opening up a can of worms, don't we?
Certainly do. Certainly do.
Okay.
No good deed goes unpunished.
This is a big one. Budget appropriation, Peter was advised to go to the city council for the $135,000 of funding that we would need for next year to repair Hangar 3 and door on Hangar 10. Peter, how did you make out?
Hangar 2 and 3 was approved, and Hangar 10 was approved. Thank you to Councillor Walsh for being on the commission as well as being a
Yeah.
city councillor. So that
Excellent.
was approved, but what I'm finding out now is, because I've been trying to look at this for quite a while, as you know, and I'd put it into the budget, and the budget was reduced, as you know.
Yeah.
But they agreed to do the appropriation, which is fantastic. However, the prices have gone up for the labour since that time, so don't have enough money of that. So what I'm trying to do now is get the 2 roofs done at $44,000 each at the prevailing wage, and also the hangar. I can buy the hangar door for $23,000. To have it installed is $55,000. So it's an increase of $22,000 just for the labour to put it on. So now I'm dealing with a door company in Worcester, and they do hangar doors, and they're trying to find something that'll work really well, but it won't be as elaborate and as sophisticated as the one that we were looking at. So I'm still working on it,
Okay,
okay?
okay. Thanks. Mary Jo Bohart had spoken to the commission last month to pursue a grant application for funding to, well, hopefully come up with a land valuation. So according to Mary Jo, you can use this grant for anything, well, maybe not anything you want, but it's not as stringent as most grants. So we gave her the okay to go ahead. Action item, Chair Raymond, was to sign a letter of support for Mary Jo, which, in the grant, so I did so.
Is there any chance that we could use that to support the door that we need? The extra money?
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe. Maybe.
Self-serve fuel farm, we were having a problem with a solenoid valve that Mr. Kettle engineered and said we don't really need it, but we were going to check with the manufacturer just to make sure we were safe. How did we make out?
It was approved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and everything, that's working now,
It's
huh?
working great.
Yeah,
Really is.
good.
Mhm.
Action item, financial review. Not sure why there's an action item on there, but it's business as usual. We have made a decision last week to let you do whatever,
Right.
as long as you show us or have, that information available to the commission, so. All right, that's it with action items. Correspondence to the commission. I didn't receive anything to speak of. Did you?
Nothing at the airport.
Yeah. Okay. Item 4, Gail, review on ongoing work, flight checks. We will start with the flight check with the nav aids.
Certainly. So I hope everyone has the Gale update. The first project with any new information is the runway project. The flight inspection was completed on Thursday, June 21st, and all results were within the specification tolerances, so the nav aids are now available for operation. There still is some remaining work. The cause of the lightning damage that occurred last year can be at least partially attributed to the deficiencies in the grounding system. As I reported, may have been last month or the month before, that the resistance to ground testing on the nav aids that were damaged did not pass muster with the specifications. So the contractor did install exactly what was prescribed. It's just a function of the materials that they were installed in that are preventing it from meeting that specification. So we coordinated with the FAA, and we're working with our electrical engineer to develop a corrective actions plan that will likely consist of adding additional grounding in and around the facility. Once that plan is completed, we're going to send that to the contractor for a price, and then we'll have to process a change order to pay for that work. There still is money left in the grant to cover that, so I don't foresee any additional funding from the city or from the agencies being required. So upon completion of that grounding work, we will process the final reimbursement and close out documents and get that project off the books.
Okay.
Oh, I don't have one.
Any questions, anyone? Item B, Airport Master Plan.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for the record, Matt Karen with Gale Associates, here to speak about the Airport Master Plan. Very much looking forward to undertaking that project with the airport and the commission and the city. I know it's been a project that the airport's been pushing for quite some time. Frankly speaking, it's going to be the roadmap for the airport for the next 20 years. It's going to include an evaluation of future airport needs, an assessment of future facilities, and then ultimately preferred alternatives from that process that'll be developed by the airport commission and the airport, and then you'll start chipping away at those over the course of the next 20 years, working with the FAA and Mass DOT. At this point in time, the FAA grant offer has been issued to the city. Alex Levesque from our office, Gale's office that is, had put together a DocuSign document so that the contract can be executed electronically. That's being passed around as we speak. It needs to be executed by certain individuals. Mr. Chairman, yourself, Peter, you'll need to sign that as well. Once that's in place, we can begin the master plan process and start in on chapters 1 through 4. Those are sort of the lighter lift, if you will. It's chapter 1's an introduction. Chapter 2 gets into an inventory of existing facilities. Chapter 3 is environmental conditions that are existing at the airport. Then really what's going to be driving the master plan is the forecast chapter. That's going to take a look at the type of operations that the airport is presently seeing. We'll do a little historic overview and take a look at certain trends, and then we're going to project out into that 20-year planning period what we expect the airport to see with a lot of the facilities that are now coming online. Certainly the reconstruction of the runway, and with the introduction of the self-serve fuel farm. I'm sure Peter would attest that there's been more traffic coming in, certainly this year, than in years past, which is a great thing. And of course, every step of the way we'll be working with the Airport Commission. We'll do periodic presentations, hopefully in the room just like this, where we'll put up large poster boards for the commission to consider certain alternatives that we're presenting. Take your feedback, go back and work on that stuff. And basically, it's an interactive process where we want correspondence back from the commission, and we'll give back and forth that way. The only thing I do want to add is, or sort of put on everyone's minds, it probably makes sense, and I think we've talked about this during the scoping of the project, where we would actually have a dedicated portion of the Airport Commission's website to post the draft chapters, so that way members of the public that may not be available to attend those periodic commission meetings where we have presentations will have an opportunity to comment on those chapters. And if there's a way where we can set it up where there's a dedicated email address or something along those lines so that comments can be submitted to the Airport Commission and then facilitated to Gale Associates for our consideration, I think would be a great idea. So I don't know who to work with on that, but Peter, we could probably talk offline, or Mr. Chairman offline. We can figure out who best to discuss that with. So.
Excellent.
So other than that, just when you get that email from Alex, keep your eyes open. Just click sign and it'll get passed along. Any
Okay.
questions on that?
What's that?
Any further questions on master plan?
The time frame in which the forecasting is going to happen, is this 6 months from now or 3?
I suspect we'll be probably looking towards the end of the summer to have that complete. So say 3 months.
So we'd have a lot more information from the airport, how the summer goes as well, yeah.
Yeah, what we're going to need is, we'll work with Peter, we'll figure out if he's got a way to track some of the operations that are coming and going there. I mean, there's going to be a lot of assumptions that are being made. It's not like you have an air traffic control tower that's counting all the operations that are coming in. We do use a lot of the FAA resources that are available to take a look at some of the national trends and some of the regional trends, and we look at similarities between, Fitchburg and other competing airports. And from that, we draw some assumptions, and then, we'll come up with something that we feel is a reasonable forecast for the airport based on that expected growth in the facilities that the airport's actually bringing online.
Okay, thanks.
The good thing is that FlightAware can help on that as well.
But where it can
because-
help. It's actually a pretty fun process to
It is.
build and model stuff and take a look at it. I think you guys are really going to appreciate that part of it.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Item B? Item C, standby generator. Kind of covered a little bit of that in action
Did
items.
sort of cover that, but this is under other items. I did note that Mass DOT has approved the request to apply for ASMP funding for the backup generator system. So that's great news. I don't know what level of involvement Gail will have beyond assisting with the application. It tends to be a pretty straightforward project. If Mary needs help with an RFP, since I'm assuming it'll have to go out, since it triggers that simple acquisition threshold, we can certainly help out with that.
Yeah. The location of that generator, and you mentioned that the electricity has to go into the building and to the runway. That's all going to be part of this, or is that an electrical engineer is going to figure that out?
There would be some level of electrical engineering taking place. They have to take a look at the electrical vault, size the generator appropriately.
Yeah.
During the runway project, we did put in spare conduits leading from the vault to the admin building. So I don't foresee an issue with locating it at either the admin or the vault.
Yeah.
It's going to be whatever makes the most sense for you guys.
Yeah, Peter, I'm sure you
I
probably...
believe the vault.
Yeah.
Looked at the vault. It's away from the building. It's not going to make any noise at the building, so...
Yeah.
And it's in a sort of a secluded area next to Twin City Air Motive, so...
And I believe we included on the exterior of the vault a NEMA 4X stainless steel enclosure housing a hookup for a generator. So at least we had the foresight to plan for that.
Very good. Thanks.
There is one other item. I had spoken with Peter earlier this week regarding the fuel tank project and the ability to bottom load the refueler truck at the airport from that fuel tank. We have been working with Smart Tank out of New York State. His name is Todd Fitzsimmons. He's preparing a fee proposal to add a separate valve and a leg to that distribution system to be able to fuel the refueler truck from the avgas tank. That way, the airport has the ability to refill the fuel truck from the self-serve and from the storage tanks that are on the airfield.
And backwards and forwards as well. The problem is that, as I explained to Nick when I gave him the call, basically we've got, let's say for example, 2,000 gallons in the actual self-serve, but we've only got 500 in the main 6,000 gallon tank.
Yes.
And then we might got 400 in the actual fuel bowser on the truck. Well, we need to be able to take fuel from each of those and put it back into each. So at the moment, we just had to order fuel because of that.
Yeah.
And it always comes up at the end of the financial year.
Right.
And then, we didn't really go down because we purchased this fuel, and this is the on sale from the fuel. So this will give us a much better control of the fuel around the airport. So,
Yeah.
and he said it would maybe 15 grand maximum, didn't he? So,
Yep. And so that we can apply for funding through the ASMP grant program as well. I spoke with Frank Turner from Dependable as well today, and he had mentioned that the retainage payment at the project closeout was never received.
Don't know.
Perhaps we can talk offline tomorrow and give the city a call
Right.
to see if that check was ever sent out, because that project, we did file the closeout documents in the final reimbursement request. So I'd be interested to see where that
Right.
funds that are due.
I thought my understanding was that we would wait until we'd got it functioning correctly before we paid them the final payment.
And that is certainly within
And
your
it's
rights.
just happened within the last week or so,
Okay,
okay?
excellent. I will, so I'll follow up tomorrow, and then I'll report back to Dependable on when they might see that payment.
Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
We good? Moving on. Fitchburg Pilots Association. Mr. Kettle, any update?
Nothing to report.
Still business as usual,
Still business as usual.
kind of locked down.
Well, yeah, things have started to open up now. They're back having their donuts on a Saturday morning and
Oh, good.
coffee, and, you know, people are coming in from other areas
Yeah.
as well, other airports, which is good.
Yeah,
We're actually doing a presentation tomorrow night to the FACT, Fitchburg Airport Condominium Trust. And we're going to update them on the PAPIs, the reels, the drone situation. So we'll maybe have a half an hour slot with them tomorrow night.
oh, that's
And
good.
there's usually 50 or 60 people there.
Yeah,
So,
So they're back to having their regular meetings? Okay,
yeah.
good.
new business, rent increases of 2.2%. Mr. Kettle.
Yeah, I would like to, if you remember when we sent out the rent increase last year, that the rent increase was 10%, because there hadn't been a rent increase for the last 8 years. And on the letter that I sent out at that time, I said this would be a regular occurrence now. Every August, they would get a rent increase, cost of living plus. And they accepted it all. We're all up to date with the bills and everything, which is good. The reason I chose 2.2% is, A, it is part of a normal agreement that Attorney Pusateri put together, you know, for particular hangars and rental on ground leases, etc. And in all honesty, the cost of living increase this year is 1.6%, and I'll put another 0.6% on as cost of development of the airport, making it 2.2%. Because we've got to pay a lot of money back to the city. And in all honesty, I think 2.2% is realistic. I've discussed that with some of the people at the airport, and they said, yeah, that's realistic. So it really needs to have a vote on, and the Commission needs to vote on it, yay or nay, or make an alternative proposal.
I would make a motion at this time to go increase at 2.2%.
I'd second that.
Vote,
Aye.
3-0. Thank you, Peter.
Welcome.
Old business,
No, airport fencing, trash. New business, airport fencing, trash.
B.
You've got the draft copy,
Oh, yeah.
that's why.
airport fencing trash,
Thank you.
item B.
Thank you. If you drive past the airport from Leominster to Fitchburg, that fence is disgusting.
Yep.
It really is disgusting. We've got cars going through the fence, and the fence never gets repaired.
Right.
Never. Now, I don't know, I would have thought that if there was an accident and the police got involved, then the insurance should be taken and they should repair the fence when they make the accident. But it doesn't appear that this is happening. So I would like to propose again that we get the DPW involved, let them go along and make a decision of whether we're going to have these Jersey barriers put up there, because one day it's fine, the next day it's gone. And you know, I don't know who the normal people are that do it, but I think it's got something to do with the college, hasn't it? Do they come down and do it? Somebody does it, I know. They've done it in the past, but it's a long process. And the good thing is that the big one that the ASMP grant gave us for the repair on the fences is still up. The 10-foot session is still up, thank goodness. But the rest, it's a disaster. Anybody can just walk through onto the airport, and we're supposed to have a secure airport.
Right.
That's why we've all got passes. But anybody can walk through, anybody. So I'd like to make, propose that we get the DPW involved.
Yeah, I think we should come up with a solution, because once we do have a 10-foot fence, expensive fence, it's still going to get hit
Got to
and
be
damaged.
protected. It's got
Unless
to be
we
protected.
solve this mystery of why people keep hitting it every 20 days. I thought we had talked about putting some arrows or some orange blocks or something that wouldn't damage the vehicle, but wake people up.
Well, maybe rumble strips or something. They put them on the highways. Have that going all the way down, maybe 3 or 4 yards from the actual fence.
Yeah.
If they hit it, then they know they're there.
It's in that same area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the average is 3 times a year.
It's more than that at the moment.
I mean, we
Seriously.
talked about actually putting up a camera, because it's a hit and run.
Yeah.
They hit, they crash, and they're gone.
Yep.
Unless they're hung up on it, that's the only way, or they flip the cars over. But 90% of the times, they hit, they bug out, and we're left paying that bill. And this is continuous, because I'll drive by, and it's so frustrating to say, same spot, you're talking maybe 200 yards of fence that's compromised all year long,
Yeah.
at our expense. The Jersey barrier is the only real true option we have
It is.
to protect our property, I think the superintendent, the DPW has the barriers within his lot that he can start putting down,
Is that Gary Withington? Is he the superintendent of the DPW?
Yep, Nick?
Oh, Nick Erickson?
Yep.
Well, he's the engineer.
No, he's the engineer.
Right, Nick Bossonetto?
Nick
Yep.
Bosanetto was the
Yep.
commissioner.
Right, he's the commissioner, isn't he?
Yeah, Commissioner, everything's going to run through him, but he'd be the first guy you're going to talk to. And last time I was in the yard, they had at least an ample supply of used barriers that they can put there just to start. It's not going to be beautiful, they're chipped, they've been used in construction, but it's a barrier to get us started, and unless you're going to put a solid concrete wall, that's right now, that's the only option we have. So, but I know they have some there that they can take that action. It's unfortunate we gotta use their manpower, but we have no other options.
Right. I mean, the big thing is if there is really a bad accident there, a car is going to drop maybe 40 feet down because there's that hill there where it comes straight down to
Yeah.
where the river is, and it can be very...
The only other thing we have to do is
dangerous.
dig a pit. If they bounce off that fence, they're going into a ditch, they're not gonna get out. I mean, entrapment, you wanna call it? Yeah, but I mean, they're hitting it and they're leaving and we're left paying the bill. So,
No, that's true.
yeah, action should be taken.
Well, plus the length of time it takes us to get the fence fixed. By the time we get the fence fixed, it gets hit once again, and
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
it's frustrating.
continuous and
We had the
expensive.
DPW repair it just,
Yeah,
I think, last spring, and they got their equipment just out and they got compromised again.
yeah.
So, I mean, we're fortunate that we have that force of people to help us,
Yeah. Nick?
I recall during the runway, when we were doing the stabilization of that riverbank, Debbie had mentioned that the DPW has big boulders that we
Yes.
could use.
Yeah.
Perhaps it might look a little bit better than the Jersey barriers, but place those stones every 10 feet along the edge of the road, maybe?
They've
Just thought
used boulders, pieces of granite in other areas of the city, steep hills where there's a corner, to protect people's property. I don't know how available some of those stones are. I know in the quarry, they have some, in their pit, they have some big boulders. That might be a start. That would be, I mean, once they place them, they're going to leave them there, and that's fine. We can work around that, but
I can see us being liable for their car if we put boulders here and there, so I don't know.
how's the liability on that?
Solicitor
You know, I
Pusateri.
don't know, but morally speaking, if a kid's driving down Airport Road, and he's got his beer in one hand, and he's got his girlfriend's hand in the other hand, and he doesn't see that it's S-turn, and he drives into a boulder, and they both die, I would really rather the fence have been damaged again, because that's, I can only assume it's just carelessness driving that's going on. And I would really encourage us to consider traffic calming devices as opposed to some type of permanent stop.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, I can only imagine, we should talk to Nick and see if there are some type of traffic calming ideas that he has that would be DOT compliant. I think like on Route 2, how you have those plastic barriers that come up in the center. Of course, I can imagine the plows taking those out every year and having to reset those up, but, you know, I think if what you're talking about, it's the inbound traffic that's not making that turn.
Yes, going into Leominster.
I mean, it's a source of frustration.
How about a guardrail system?
Yeah, I mean, that would be a permanent stop, though, you know?
Right.
That would be a very quick stop, because I haven't been down there long enough, you know, cognitively about it, but my memory, it's almost like that's not a 90-degree angle.
200 yards from the entrance, that's where it starts. And it
Yeah,
goes probably another 300 yards. That's compromised in different sections.
certainly ask for what the options might be and see what,
Yeah.
Who's responsible if we ask for a guardrail? Is that something that's provided by the state? Is that a city responsibility?
city would be responsible, that it's a city road, and then I think it's on city property too, so, yeah, it's not a mass highway of some sort, so,
But would a guardrail be a liability for the city as well?
you know what, I don't know if it's even a liability. I don't think it's like, I think when you were describing, I'm thinking, when you come down South Street, somebody set up.
Right there.
As their house
Yes.
getting.
Yep.
I don't necessarily even see that as a liability, I just see that we have some type of moral obligation to protect the public from itself.
Right.
And,
We're trying to protect city property. It's just strange that section of roadway is
is it, yeah,
the compromised area, you know? And unfortunately, they don't get hung up. Be nice to put a big catcher's mitt there, and once they get there, they're kind of stuck, but that's not the way it is.
or maybe a low curve even, something that a vehicle might pop up over
Yep.
and then continue to move along, but I don't know, I'm just trying to think about if we're all here a year from now and two young people who are footloose and fancy free who are flying down Airport Road.
Yeah.
Because I've never done anything like that before in my life,
No, I wouldn't expect that from you.
but, you know.
I mean, it's lit up, it's not like it suddenly approaches you. I mean, it's just, you're not paying attention.
They're not paying attention. to their-
Clearly not paying attention.
Yeah.
And
Or they're driving too
I think the airport manager suggested big orange arrows, maybe that might be the first way you approach it, you know, signs,
See if that helps.
curves coming, yeah, if you're mounting,
Something to grab your peripheral vision while you're not paying
right, if
attention.
you're mounting these big orange curve signs, arrows on your fence, and they hit that, well, then it's like, okay, you're definitely not paying attention, you know, occupied some other way. Yeah.
In the winter, you've usually got the snowbanks, and that stops people going through and
Yes.
over.
Right.
Right? So if you put a guardrail up, and I don't think they're as abrupt as what you believe they are, attorney, I think it'll be like a slide. They'd hit it and they'd slide against it, it'd ruin the side of the car, but it would protect them. And I think if we put a curb there, that's like a lift-off point to go over the fence, you know? But if we
get hung up, so.
Right, no, that's absolutely true. But you know, one of the good things, I think, are those rumble strips. They catch your attention immediately, don't they? If you're driving on the road and you just look, you know, it really does.
The concern is, I know that that's been disfavored from a cloud perspective, because they're gonna rip up the road and then we're gonna further, but I don't think that's a bad idea. I mean, we wanted to at least try something.
Well, can I take that as an action item to speak to Nick Bossonetto?
Yes, start with the DPW.
And I think Nick is also the city engineer, so he's going to have a lot of
Right.
information about
Right.
Yeah.
options.
Which Nick?
Nick Bussonet.
Oh, right, yes. Yeah, okay, excellent.
Peter, one question on the trash. I know we had a problem on Blueberry Lane from that transfer station. Is that still a continuing problem for us.
Terrible. If you'd have gone down there 2 days ago, it looks like a trash heap.
And we had spoke to them about that issue, and they had put up some kind of fencing, and
No,
obviously,
it's not from there. It's from the road. It's not coming on the inside of the fence, which is the normal place where it would come from AKS.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, AKS. It's on the roadside.
right.
And I've been down there and people just throw stuff out of the cars,
Oh, yeah.
you know? But yesterday I got one of our guys to go and clean it all up,
Yeah,
and
and
today they
unfortunately,
cut the
again,
grass.
that's not
so-
our responsibility. I mean, we're
Right.
not creating the problem.
No.
We're maintaining their problem, their issue.
Right.
That's been ongoing for the longest time. It's not really the airport roadside. You know, I will drive by every once in a while, I'll see some rubbish. I've gone actually and picked it up. It's not heavy till you take that corner, you get on Blueberry Lane, and then, I mean, you're looking down at it, and it's so obvious. And on a windy day, you can see it blowing out of all the industrial buildings on the right-hand side because it blows into the airport. Again, so frustrating.
Yeah, and one of the other things, it's not just safety for the airport, security for the car drivers and whatnot.
Right.
Maybe we can get something on an ASMP grant, because that's about security, and if the fences are open, there's no security for the airport. So maybe we could get some help from MassDOT Aeronautics.
And when it comes to fencing, they fund it at 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
They knew that the entire extent of the problem, would they fund some traffic calming devices there? Even a light, like a flashing light or something something like that.
I mean, there's really nothing that's off the table. If they find a valid reason that it protects airport infrastructure or enhances safety, I think they would be amenable to it.
There's only one thing that I think might put a block on it, and that's the fact that within the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to get the 10-foot fence through the FAA all the way around the airport. So whether they do something now and spend that money when it's going to be ripped up, unless they put 10 feet in like they did on that small area that they did, but that costs $23,000 just for that little bit that we had done. So
When does that fence project?
it's the next 2 to 3 years. I think it's the
Okay.
end of the third year, isn't it, Nick, from memory on the airport
Yeah, on your
master plan?
CIP, it's like 3 years out, maybe?
Yeah, I
maybe
think so.
4
3 years.
out, 3, 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
Is that a code with the FAA? So the perimeter of your airport's going to be a fence a certain height?
10 feet.
They typically participate in funding those types of projects because it keeps wildlife off the
Yeah.
airport, enhances safety. Does the master plan have a wildlife hazard
We do not.
portion?
No.
So usually you'd have at least a wildlife site visit by a wildlife biologist who would then make recommendations. You know, if you have things like turtles, he'd recommend, putting a skirt underground from the fence.
They can't burrow.
If you have deer, he recommends the 10-foot
Maybe
with
it's the
barbed
deer
wire.
that's putting the dent in the fence.
Yeah, yeah,
You have
maybe.
the herd that runs through.
I think we should call that wildlife guy. Okay, moving on. So apparently I got the wrong agenda, but,
That was the only thing that was added,
oh,
Yep.
okay, old business.
yes.
Joe Spinelli plus additional 5 people.
Yes, it's now 9, as you know. We're actually waiting for the RFP to be issued, but we are waiting for the information from the commission to go back to Mary for the adjudication on how you want it to be judged. And the other thing is, I did send an email to Attorney Pusateri just asking him if what I'd sent out was the correct land lease. And I'm sure it is, but I've had so many, as you know, come through me, I just wanted to make sure.
I'll look it up right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm sure it is, Attorney, I'm sure it is. But, okay, so that's the situation. So that as soon as you can get that to Mary Delaney, we can get that out.
Yeah. I have a couple questions for Solicitor Pusateri when you get a second. We're going to send out an RFP for that property at the airport. And it states 20-year, 20-year, 10-year. We're under the impression that a 60-year lease is more favorable to most, yet I don't see a place in this that has an exception. Now, should we accept exceptions, or is that opening up as too much of a debate?
I think you should debate area, price, and term. Anything over 20 years is going to be approved by city council anyway, so we're already going to go there on what you have here. And that's really what I'd like to have the debate on. And the gentleman didn't make a completely invalid point. He had a complaint that this was he called it a condominium. It's not. It's an industrial complex lease, and each place is kind of associated. It's very similar to a condominium, what we're doing there. We're not leasing them a space of land on the side of Airport Road and they're gonna own it or control it completely, pay rent, and then build whatever structure they want. They're part of a group of us, and they have to comply with all the rules and regulations that you guys may set up, a brand new set of rules 2 months from now. Something may come up we've never foreseen was a problem for the airport. We need a new series of regulations. Their lease has to comply with that.
Right.
If they're in default of those, I think is what the gentleman brought up, they have to pull themselves in compliance in 30 days. 90 days would be too long. Would be, especially if it was a hazard or...
Right.
I know, I'm a little bit informed by the more stringent regulations that they had, because they changed them recently about, like, the example was the storage of the material, the problem that we had, in fact. I think that kind of informs that whole. So, but area, price, and length of term. So, if they want to come back, if you want to say, for example, so just to tie that in with, I think what purchasing is waiting for us, if we want to say that the most advantageous lease would be a lease for 20 years, and the next most advantageous would be a lease for 30 years, and the next most advantageous would be a lease for 40 years, and then we have a rating system like that, and then you want to put 60 years on the list, you could absolutely say that. And if I'm a bidder and I really want that spot, then I'm going to say to myself, I want it for 60 years, but do I want it that much? Or do I want to make myself more competitive as a bidder? And do I want to bid it for 50 years? Do I want to bid it for 40 years? Because obviously the shorter a time that you have on your lease, the more in control you will be. Well, we won't be, but the next group that's sitting where we are, they'll have a chance to redo all the mistakes that we just created in this lease. Or as life unfolded, we couldn't foresee. So most advantageous might be, maybe you just want to cut right to the chase, get 20 years off the table because we know that people really aren't interested in that. So maybe you want to say most advantageous would be a lease of less than 40 years. An advantageous offer would be a lease of 60 or less years. And a disadvantageous offer would be a lease of longer than 60 years. And then see how those bids come in. And then a most advantageous would be aviation use.
Yes,
Right.
definitely. It can't be anything else.
An advantageous offer would be a compatible non-aviation use, and an unacceptable offer would be an uncompatible non-aviation use.
Yeah, that's already in her draft
Yeah.
letter, which is, I have no issue with. It was just the, no place for exceptions for the bidder. So I'm trying to avoid nobody answering our call.
Right.
The
So
other,
if we want to take that land lease document and blank out, obviously, the name, and blank out the description of the area, and blank out the length of term, and blank out the price, you could do that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can I just correct myself? Did we decide to put the price in the RFP?
No.
well, I'm not sure if we've decided. It is highlighted. Insert specific price proposal expectations. Now, I don't think that's a bad idea. What if we only have one bidder and it's 15 cents a square foot?
We don't have to accept it.
We don't.
No.
We do not have to accept it.
Okay. So I don't have to put an expectation of price in here.
I don't think so. You know, I really wish I could talk to Mary about it, but I don't think you have to, you're not forced to accept any proposal. You requested from them to make proposals, they made a proposal, you don't have to accept it.
Okay.
If Mary has asked us to put a proposed price in there, an expectation of price,
She may have. Yeah,
No, she hasn't.
I have it in highlighted, though.
No, but she hasn't put a price in there. This
Oh,
is
I
for
know,
them
she's
to put
asking
it.
my opinion, our opinion.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
you know, we could go back to Mary and just, if I can continue, we could go back to Mary and ask her, could we put that in the rule of award? Most advantageous would be the highest price bid. And
Well,
so
that is in here.
bidders-
Yeah. That is part of that advantageous,
Yeah,
and most advantageous criteria.
and is she scoring each one, like the most advantageous gets 4 points?
Well, that's another thing I'm not quite understanding. She's saying that the city decides. When this bid comes in, it goes to the city, and it looks like the commission is not part of that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be happy to talk with her, and I don't know everything, but my initial thought would be the commission would open the bids during a public meeting.
That's what my
And
expectation
I
would
think
be.
I've led you to that expectation, because I think that's what I've suggested over the past several months.
Okay.
But she might be looking at this as her normal course of operation, which would be for her to open up bids in her office, and she has a certain procedure that she does that.
Yeah.
And I guess, Mr. Chairman, if there isn't a subjective analysis in your rule of award, for example, whether or not a use is compatible, a non-aviation use is compatible with what it is that you're looking to do, then I don't know if it would really matter, I guess, who opens up the bids, because they're just going to say, here's the highest price, here's an aviation use, you know, here's a shorter term, and then they just start pricing them up, and it really does protect you from somebody saying, a losing bidder saying that something unfair happened to them because of the airport commission.
Yeah. Learn
I
as
don't
we
know.
go.
But I could certainly ask her about that.
I mean, she has an evaluation criteria. Does this evaluation go out with the RFP? I would assume it
I
does.
believe everyone is made aware of what the rule of award is. This
Yes.
is how we're going to decide
Yeah.
who wins the space.
So one last question. Do I need to have a motion? Does the commission need to be involved in any of these questions?
You know, the funny thing is, I was with the Bedford Planning Board last night, and they are going through this RFP process to hire someone to help do the zoning rewrite. And it was kind of, it was actually painful to watch them debate how to evaluate.
I bet it was.
And on and on and on and on and on. So, you know, I would think that you would want to at least instruct the purchasing department what's important to the commission by telling them, this is what we want, by explaining what's most advantageous and what's unacceptable and what would be okay. And at least you give her those 3 ratings.
As a commission.
I would.
As a quorum.
Yeah, I would think so. And that way, no one's going to question, well, if anyone has a question, how did that rule even come up? Well, there was a meeting on it, and we try to evaluate what are the things that we're most concerned about. Price, use, longevity, these are the things that we are most concerned about. Or brevity, maybe is a better way to say it.
Peter, I think we're going to be another 30 days before we give you an answer on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing that you may consider is if you wanted to just, you could have a subcommittee to try to put that together and just make a recommendation to the full commission. I don't know. We're missing a few people tonight, but.
Yeah, I know.
And that way, they'll, you know, all things being equal, subcommittee's job may not be perfectly done, but it is acceptable, you know, and we can move it along and just get it done.
Yeah.
If I may add something, and I believe I'm right in this, and Matt, I'd like your comments on this. This is only for aeronautical usage. It is not for anything else. Zero. It is aeronautical usage. And that's the only way that we managed to get this through the FAA prior to the airport master plan being completed. I'm correct in that,
Correct.
Matt, aren't I?
It is for
Thank
aeronautical
you.
purposes, yeah.
So aviation purposes is advantageous, and all other uses are not acceptable. That's your rule of award. And then you have length of lease, you know, 20 years, or maybe you want to say 40 years, or less is highly advantageous, and 60 years or less is acceptable, and 60 years or more is, that would be a clear rule I think you might want to set out right there.
That's good.
And highest price is most advantageous. And, you know, and just, there must be language that Mary would use to do price rating, to rate price. I don't know, there was another issue that we had about whether or not we want the lease to include maintenance or not include maintenance. And Peter informs me that we want to be in charge of all maintenance on the airport, because when we bring private contractors in to do snow plowing or salting or sanding, lawn care, it's just, you've got construction, not construction, you have contractors running into other people's or our buildings. At least if we do it, you know, we have, it's an easy fix for us. So you might want to have that as a possible rule. I mean, these are all, those are the majority of the issues I think you have.
Right.
Right?
So I'm thinking out loud to facilitate speed. Could we develop a subcommittee to address those items tonight? I mean, not address them tonight, but create a form a committee tonight so that we can put something forward to Mary before next meeting?
Can I just make another suggestion? Because I don't want this to feel that there's a permanency, because I think what we're going to try to do is keep an RFP out there, because Peter is continually trying to, or is continually landing new leads all the time. You don't have to, once you draft this first one, it's not necessarily going to be the last one we've done. I mean, you know, we could change it if we find that some of the rules aren't working. And I think that we've just ticked off, we've just come off the top of our heads with, I'm going to tell you, 85% of what you have there. And I think that is enough of a good start just to get it back to purchasing. I think if we spend 30 days on this, we may find that 15% in the weeds someplace, but you're going to get a rule of award that's going to give us the shortest lease, the most amount of money for an aviation purpose, and it'll be out. So I would suggest better done than perfect. So
You're right. So wasted time because things are fluid.
The last thing that I believe we should avoid is to get people getting fed up because nothing's happening and they're not interested anymore.
Yeah,
So the sooner the better.
right. I'll visit Mary this week, or as soon as she calls me back.
Okay.
So just to reiterate, the terms I mean, I know we have to be in compliance with the feds, so I think it's a 20-20-10 is their preference.
You know, I don't think so. I really don't think that they're stuck on any specific time frame. So I want to give you 100% confidence, term, dollar amount, especially for aviation use, dollar amount is not important. Fair market value for non-aviation use would become an issue. So the fact that this is only going to be aviation use makes it easier. So term, price, area.
Who's deciding the fair market value?
But we don't have to do that.
We don't have to do, yeah, your grant assurances are sustainability. You need to charge a price that is sustainable. And your lease has a 10-year review for a appraisal. So, you know, I know 10 years sounds like a long time, but you'll get there and you'll get a chance to review the amount of that you're charging. So you'll be pretty covered on sustainability. And I know that Peter came up with, what was the numbers that we had on that last one?
Which one, sorry?
Well, we did the city one. The
Right.
city one was fair market value according to some analysis that was done. And that was relatively inexpensive. I think it was, I forgot what the area is, but it was $1,200
Right.
a month or something like that. It was $14,000 a year, $1,200 a month.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
The one that the city is renting from the airport and the city's turning around and renting to AKS.
Oh, that one,
The city
yes.
has a
Yes.
$1,200 a month obligation.
Right,
to
yes
you.
it is. But that's like, what is it, 12 acres?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, it's a big acreage. It's a big acreage. When I spoke to George Pantelli following our discussion, George said, well, how much are these hangars going to cost? I said, they're budgeting at $500,000. He said, well, you can't offer them 20 or 40 years because they're not going to get payback. He said, in all honesty, I would go with 20-20-10. That's what George said because of the cost of the airport, of the actual hangar.
Yeah.
And then he said, and if you get 7 of those, he said it's unheard of in North American history at an airport that somebody would develop 7 new hangars at $500,000 each, all owned by separate people. He said, and 60 years is reasonable for that, as long as the 7 plus. And that's where the 60 years came from.
Okay.
So that's what George Pantelli said. And he's the FAA guy that we got the approval for the 60 years.
So I'm just going to throw out, my suggestion would be that you would have a rule of award that would break up a tier between 40, 50, and 60, because I would like to see if you couldn't sweeten up someone who was really anxious, that really wanted to bid, that really wanted to get in, if they would offer 50 when they know all their compatriots are offering 60, and then that would be the group that may win the bid. And that way, you get a high price, you get a shorter term, and then you get the area that we're, you know, an area that's acceptable.
The other thing that wasn't clear as Fitchburg Airport land lease, it says, I hereby propose a sum of blank per square foot. It doesn't say a sum of per square foot, per month, per week, per day, per year. Shouldn't,
Yeah.
I mean, this thing's going to be all over the place. Everybody's going to look at this different. So it should say per year.
We could put that in there.
Okay.
I've seen all the leases that I was reviewing, when we put that together, that's the language that they use, a square foot. I think it's an annualized year.
It is.
I think that's the general understanding of that. But we can clarify that.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to Mary this soon. She may be calling you.
Your question was the price expectation.
Yes.
I thought there was a second one in it for that. Maybe we discussed it already.
The evaluation criteria provisions was broken down into highly advantageous, advantageous, and acceptable. But this particular is not, we are not going to consider a non-aviation, we cannot consider a non-aviation use.
You could take up that middle tier and just say it's highly advantageous and
Yeah, we could drop this bottom one that says proposals includes development of hangar and/or accessory ancillary use, but does not have the highest price submittal. I mean, bottom line is, when we get this back, we can say yay or nay. I mean, personally, I would like to put a specific price proposal expectation based on what other people are paying at the airport.
it's an interesting problem that we constantly come up with because we don't have any money to really get a real fair market value assessment.
Yes.
And we need to get the fair market value assessment because we don't have any money.
Yeah,
And it just is, we're in the middle, you know, I mean, that's where Peter's been for
A while.
and I mean, the best way to get a fair market value is for 8 people to reply to this.
You might be right.
Yeah.
So leave it open.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's a number that we wouldn't be willing to accept less than, but then we're giving them the signal,
Yeah.
because they're all gonna talk to each other. That's the other problem.
Well, they do.
And
We can't-
and what your hope is, you've got one outlier that wants to beat everybody else.
Yeah. Okay. I'll talk to Mary. Enough on that subject. Still old business, only item B, drone presentation, Peter Kettle.
Okay, this has taken longer than I really wanted it to, as you
Yeah.
know, because of COVID. And 2 weeks ago, I met with the Fitchburg Police Department, with Chief Martineau and the DPW, and also the parks people, and made a presentation to them. And halfway through the presentation, the chief said to me, he said, "What do you expect me to do if I see somebody flying a drone in a wrong area, doing the wrong thing?" I said, "Go up and either speak to him or give him a fine." He said, "Peter, I can't do anything. I have no jurisdiction at all whatsoever on drone flyers. None at all." I said, "So if somebody is coming in on 1-4 and there's a drone there, you can't go and book that guy?" He said, "No." So, Attorney Pusateri, it was agreed that him and I would make a proposal to the city to raise an ordinance permitting the police to go and take action against people wrongdoing with drones. And I sent an email out to the chief and confirming everything and copied you on it. And I actually attached an ordinance from Chicopee that I'd like to use as an example to present to the city council with the chief to get an ordinance approved here. So I'd like an answer back from you on that, if that's
I think I
okay.
told you, right now what I'm working on is the.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know, but this is where we are with the drones. I'm just giving you my case, okay? So the presentation, in all honesty, yesterday I did Lunenburg, today I did Leominster to the chiefs and also the DPW in the Parks Division. And they both said, "We did not know this was involved as it is. This is fantastic. We need to get this, what did I just call it? The document printed and presented before the city council." And they said, "Well, as you've already actioned it, Peter, could you ask Attorney Pusateri if we can have a copy once he's done it?" And I said, "I don't think anything's wrong with that because we're going to plagiarize Chicopee's, so I don't see any problem in you doing the same with ours." Now, I think we really need to get this out to the public as soon as we possibly can, because I see drones, I see 9 or 10-year-old kids with drones. They're not allowed to do that. They have to be 16 years old. They have to be FAA approved. They have to have a pilot's license to fly the drone. And nobody's aware of this anywhere. So the presentation that I've put together, I discussed it with Commissioner Walsh here, maybe going on to FATV. Is it FATV?
Yes.
Yes. And making that same presentation to the public. And if, as I said, if you guys would like to see it tonight to get a feel of what it's all about, I'll gladly do it. If you've got 20 minutes.
I'd like 20 minutes. I gotta be somewhere before 8, so. I'm sorry to say.
Is there anything else that the attorney needs to be? Oh,
I'm going to
sorry,
take a look
okay.
right here.
Okay. Maybe we could deal with you first, attorney.
Peter, can you send me a copy of that Chicopee document?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
We're going to skip to item E to accommodate the solicitor. So land access rental, Leominster DPW. We had approved the $8,600
$8,600, yeah.
for the easement for 20 years, was it, or at last month's meeting? And now there's a holdup of some kind. Do you know what that is, Peter?
Yeah, we're just waiting for the easement, the document that we need to give that certifies that they've paid that money. It's legal.
Okay.
So I got the easement, and in order to get the easement completed, you have to get a description of what the land is. So if you look through the emails about the appraiser, guy's name was, what's the guy's name? Army.
Frank Army.
Frank Army. He said he reviewed plans drawn up from Leominster Engineering, so I asked him, I need copies of those plans, because we have to delineate the legal description of the area. And he said he didn't have the plans. So I'm not sure exactly what he looked at when he did the appraisal. But then he did say that people in Leominster will be contacting me. So I haven't heard back from them at this point in time.
Oh,
So I have an easement, I have a temporary easement and a permanent easement with no legal description yet. That's where we are. The ball is in their court.
okay.
I think that's it, Mr. Pusateri.
Okay?
You're dismissed.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Oh, no,
My
no,
wife
no.
just called too, so it's perfect.
No, it's one thing.
Yeah.
Which one?
Sorry, tie downs, attorney. Sorry, tie downs.
Oh, yeah.
I went back and I sent a letter out and I copied you, and I said, actually, you most probably thought, why the heck did Peter do that in my letter to you?
Yes.
Well, I did get a response. And there's one group of people, or two people, that actually own 3 large hangars where the land lease is based on the tie down.
Right.
And he said if I reduce from 88 to 50, he wants a reduction.
Yes.
So I said to him, I said, okay, I'm going to investigate this. Well, I asked Debbie if there was a letter sent by the FAA to the city here that says that we have to renegotiate the land lease for FACT, and she said, yes, there is. It can't be based on a tie down. I've got the letter.
You got it?
I've got it.
Okay.
And I can send it to you.
Okay.
So I now need approval from the commission to go back to these 2 guys and say, sorry, you are operating not up to the standards of the city.
I think you just need to terminate I don't think their lease has a, their lease is either a written or oral lease. If it's a written lease, it's for a period of years.
Okay.
And there should be a provision in there and to comply with FAA regulations.
Okay. Well,
There should be, a federal law provision.
all right. Well, the FAA letter actually says that. You cannot base a land lease where a hangar's going to go on a tie-down rate.
Okay.
So really, it's bitten them backwards because
Yes.
now they're going to pay more money. So
How are we going to figure out how much they should be paying?
I'm going to base it on what happens now with the new ones that come from here.
Yes. Right.
So, all right.
Is it a building lease or is it a land lease?
It's a land lease. They own the building.
They own it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, sorry. Chairman, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to get that sorted out before he left.
No problem. Peter, would it be advantageous to wait on your drone proposal until there's more people, more commissioners here? We're a little
Only going to
late.
get one more, aren't we?
Yeah,
And that's David. I mean, it's entirely up to you.
yeah.
Entirely up to you. But I could make it quick. I mean, if you want to get out of here, I don't have a problem with it. Seriously, because I've already got action, what I want to get action from the police, the chief police.
Yeah.
Chief police. The police chiefs and the DPW. They've already taken the signs and they're already up in Fitchburg.
Oh, they are?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
they're up straight away. And
Yeah.
then yesterday, I gave them to Kit Walker, who used to be the chair of the commission.
Yeah.
And he's now with the DPW, and he's going to put those up today. And I passed them to the DPW chief at Leominster today. And he said, these are fantastic, but I need 9 more. I said, okay. So I've contacted Masdot Aeronautics. I sent an email to Owen this morning asking him if we could get some more. And I copied Drew Mahaley, because he's the drone guy. And I'm waiting for a response. So, yeah, we can leave it until next... No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Leave it until next month.
Yeah.
That's fine, but I just
In
wanted you...
progress.
I
We
just-
are making progress.
Oh, yeah, we can't go any quicker now because
Yeah.
it's all done, so definitely.
Okay,
I mean, for the city to take action, it's immediate, isn't it?
No, because we need the document from Attorney Pusateri,
You need the ordinance.
the ordinance.
It has to be approved.
And the chief and I,
Yeah.
the chief said he wants me to
And
go
then you
with
submit
him.
it to the city council.
Right,
yeah,
Yep.
right.
yeah.
So that should be the action bit, the
But they
chief-
don't have to dwell on it, they could vote on it at that meeting when it's presented to them?
Yeah, you could make a motion for suspension of the rules and vote on it the night that it comes in.
Right,
Okay, so it could be moved in a timely manner.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay, excellent.
Old business, I see RFP Solar Farm is still here. It's because we're kind of like holding a place for it.
Yeah, because we're hoping that something from the
will
Biden, is going to give more,
Yeah,
more
Rain
payment for, for the green, yes.
no change there.
No.
Item D, warehouse development, we touched on that.
Yeah.
You wrote to Mr. Higgins.
Yes, we did.
And no feedback.
Yes, sir.
Land access,
We just
rental,
covered that.
waiting for the solicitor to quantify the property in question, right?
Yes.
I thought it was Panama, but
No, Ipanema.
Ipanema Productions.
Yes.
He's still he's been in contact with you for his permits and all that?
He's got all the permits now.
Yeah.
And I actually had a couple of other people that want to sort of jump onto this. And they said, well, we'd like to come in and do this, this, and this. I said, not up to me. I said, the person that's actually paying us $2,000 a day is Carlos Silva.
Yeah.
I said, go and discuss it with him. If
Yeah.
he wants you there, then fine.
Yeah,
So
So
yeah.
it's an August and September date for sure,
August, September, and October.
and the October.
3
dates.
months.
Okay.
Yes. So this morning in Leominster, we touched on noise. And for some reason, one of the guys said, when's the next Brazilian event? I said, in August. He said, you're going to be popular with Leominster.
Right.
Because they always complain about the noise, but I believe now we're switching it off at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, earlier, and we're trying
Yeah.
to get holiday weeks, so
Right.
people aren't working on
Right.
Monday.
Right.
We've done a lot.
Right, yeah. So, self-serve, sorry,
Yeah, so he's moving forward, and you've
Yes.
heard from him, yeah, okay.
yes.
Self-serve fuel farm,
We addressed that earlier, didn't we?
we did,
Yep.
we fixed the valve,
Yeah.
and is that all signed off, Nick?
The final inspection has taken place. We've submitted the closeout documentation and the final reimbursement
Okay,
to Mass DOT. I believe the city still is withholding the retainage payment, but,
that we spoke of earlier,
yeah.
okay. Peter, I'm going to put an action item there, because you're going to follow up on that retainage check from the city hall, or do you already know that's happening?
What, on the solar farm? On the self-serve?
Yeah.
Fuel farm, yeah.
There's-
Yeah, we can do
There's
that.
a fee due to you?
To Dependable,
Dependable,
the
okay.
contractor, yes.
Tie downs, Peter had a conversation with Solicitor Pusateri, we're done. Budget and appropriation, item I, old business,
Yeah, we covered. We got the $135,000.
approved.
Yeah.
RFP hangers,
Yeah, that should really come off now, or I take Joe Spinelli off, one of the others.
because it's one and the same,
Yes.
yes. I think we should just remove J. Titan badging and credit cards,
Ongoing, all the trucks have been badged now, and they look really nice. And today we took the old Shell sign down and put up the new Titan sign. And we should have the shirts for the guys within the next couple of weeks, or hopefully by the next meeting. So,
would they provide shirts like for the week? 5 shirts per guy?
2 shirts per guy.
Yeah,
My wife washes every night, so I only have one.
my washing machine broke 4 days ago.
Oh dear,
Part came in today.
oh dear.
I got it changed. It works. Success. Financial review, approval of commitments and abatements. I only assume that Mr. Kettle is on it, and...
Yeah, that's ongoing, right?
People are paid,
Ongoing.
yes. Manager's operation report. Peter, anything to
No, I believe
add?
we've covered everything, in
Yeah.
all honesty. As I said, we had a jet come in yesterday, took 1,200 gallons of fuel. Nice big Falcon 60, beautiful thing. Tomorrow we're getting a Falcon 20 coming in at 7:15. At 3:45 in the afternoon, the same plane's coming back again. But apparently he said he doesn't want fuel because he's filling up in Chicago, and there's enough to get him back to where he wants to go. But we will get $85 landing fee on each one, so $170, so,
Yeah,
which is good. So, yeah, no, things are going good. We had the big helicopters, what are they called? The ones with the gunships on, the
Blackhawk.
Blackhawks. We had 3 of those come in 2 weeks ago on the way to Devons, and they stopped for fuel. We gave them 300 gallons of fuel, which was nice. And the next day, another Blackhawk came in, but with the Red Cross on it. It was one of the what do you call them? The medical. Yeah, and he took fuel as well. And he said every time they come up this way now, they'll come in. But let me ask you a question. Yeah, what is it? He said, we did used to come in here pretty often. Really? Yeah, when you had a restaurant.
Right.
I said, well, you know what? We're getting a new one, maybe within the next 18 months. We've got to keep on pushing the mayor for this.
Yeah.
We've got to. Because we'll definitely see an increase.
Yeah.
We really will. And for local people as well. There's nothing better for families to bring their kids down,
Right.
especially where it's going to go looking straight out over the ramp and the runway,
Right.
you know, and get people more involved in aviation and have a nice meal at the same time. Nothing better. So,
And I'm new to all of this, and so Chris Lund took me up
you said,
in his airplane, and the pilots talk, and what they talk about is where are we going to fly for breakfast, or where are we going to fly to for lunch, and that's the draw.
yeah, it is.
So,
It
you know, I think it makes sense to,
Yeah.
I think the mayor knows that. I think the city council knows that.
Yep.
It's just, it's going to be a unique person that will, you know, is going to set some money up to build a place, even if we put a pad up.
Well,
Hopefully,
I think
find that person.
I think we've found that person, because 2 weeks ago I got a telephone call, and the gentleman said, "Can I speak to the manager?" I said, "You're talking to him." He said, "Well, we understand that you've got space for a restaurant." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, I've got 2 people who want to build restaurants, but they need to have the ability to serve alcohol. But I was talking to the past chief of staff, and he said that you can't do that at an airport." And I said, "Well," I said, "you can, as long as it's outside the perimeter of the airside of the airport. And he said, really? I said, yes. He said, would you confirm that in writing, which I did. And he's got 2 guys that are going to come back with a proposal.
It's just like
So-
when we get a beer at Boston.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. As long as it doesn't attach to the airside. So, you know, if the front door opens onto the ramp,
It's a problem.
you can't do it.
Yeah.
But if it's, I said, look, it'll be at least 15 to 20 feet back in the same proximity as what the admin building is. He said, perfect, perfect. So I think we'll see it pretty soon. Another proposal for the city council.
There you go.
So, but Commissioner Walsh, can you arrange for a liquor license?
I don't, the License Commission does that, but I'm sure that they will look favorably upon
Favorably at
that.
it. Excellent, thank you. Excellent.
All right, thanks, Peter. Executive session, none at this time. Date and time of next regular meeting would be July 28th, 6 o'clock PM, and I would assume here in this building. If that changes, everybody will be notified. Meeting adjourned at
7:32. 19:32.
7:32. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.